out there, Packer Nation, and welcome to another edition of the Absolute Packer Podcast. I promise we're going to be more into the swing of things now. So let's hop right into it. We are on episode 63, which I am going to call the Lions. I was just telling the guys beforehand that everybody's saying, oh, this is going to be a different Lions team. They're going to do this, that, or the other. Not from what I saw. They look like the same old Lions, only possibly worse. So let me introduce my other compatriots here. We've got Elliot Christensen and Jeremy Hautala. What's up, guys?
2-0, baby. 2-0.
And they are in different rooms. Elliot is in some kind of a warehouse-looking place. And Jeremy looks like he's in Andy Warhol's basement.
There you go.
No, these are like new backgrounds
week,
for Skype or something like that.
After last week, I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to leave it alone.
Oh, I hear it. And I have the same tried and true Alex Gray psychedelic art. And my daughter's...
Still the coolest.
Yeah, really.
You still got the coolest background.
The oldest, disgusting, decrepit couch, which is kind of angled away. Anyway, before we get it off the rails. So the Packers are now 2-0. They took on the Lions' first game at Lambeau this season in the COVID era, if you want to call it that. I have my notes here. I said the game had kind of a weird start, weird flow because, the Packers were kind of moving the ball on defense, moving the ball on offense. But then they kind of sputtered out. And then the defense did the defense thing, the Packers defense. They immediately gave up a touchdown. It was just like basically the start to the Vikings game the week before. And I think I read somewhere that in the early part of the game, the last the last three possessions of the Viking game the Packers played, and then the first two possessions that the defense played in the Lions game, 5 straight touchdown drives they allowed. I mean, they just made it look way too darn easy. But then, I don't want to say the defense tightened up, kind of a gentle euphemism there, but the offense took over, and Aaron Rodgers, he played great. And what can you say? I mean, they've scored 85 points in 2 games. I think over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Now, I did make this point that the combined record of our opponents thus far is 0-4. Now, don't apologize for winning in the NFL, and especially don't apologize for beating division rivals. So they're 2-0 to start the season and 2-0 in the division. But the defenses, the teams in general, I guess, that we played. I mean, the Vikings got their butt kicked by the Indianapolis Colts in the second game. I think they're in for a really rough year. The Lions, I mean, they had 6 starters out, 3 on offense, 3 on defense, I think. And that was either their 11th or 12th straight loss going back to last season. So I don't think Patricia's going to make it through this season, not the way things are going. But the offense looks good. Kind of my short synopsis about the collective game would be the offense looks pretty good. It looks dynamic. It looks like it's they're using more pre-snap motion. They're using running backs in the passing game, screen game, running backs period. I mean, they're 3 deep at running back. Special teams is adequate, which by our standards means they're the best ever.
Average.
Yeah, pretty much. But the defense is just, look, right now, I know we're only 2 games in, but this team is going to go as far as the defense will take it. And based on what I'm seeing, and it's really early to say this, but if I had to kind of just make a prediction right now, they look like a one and done playoff team because of the defense. But the offense looks good. I mean, LaFleur 15-3 to start his career with Green Bay, 8-0 in the division. It's good stuff.
And that's without a defense, really. I mean, they 15-3 without a top 10 defense is pretty phenomenal by NFL standards. It truly is.
I would say they're like not even. They're not even top 15. They got to be middling in the 20s.
They're right now. I mean, the pass rush obviously is the best part of their team, but you can't be so one-dimensional that you have to make a game go into your strength, which is your pass rush. I mean, there's just no way that you can make that do for 16 games. And I mean, yesterday it worked out pretty well. honestly, they're 2-0. It's great. Um, but we played the Lions yesterday, and they self-destructed.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on there, but I sent you guys a screenshot of the one play where there were 3 Lions that ran into each other. On a Tyler Irvin, they were running
Like a Benny Hill
pre-snap
special.
motion, and Tyler Irvin was coming from the top of the screen down towards the left to right, and I mean the Lions just totally lost their spacing. They totally lost everything. They lost their gap awareness, and they all ran into each other. And Aaron Jones just went off. So, I'm not going to fall on the bandwagon and say that this team is Super Bowl bound. I'm not going to fall on the bandwagon and say that, we're the next best thing since Holmgren, the Holmgren teams. But it's good. It's a good thing that we're 2-0 because we could be the Vikings and Lions sitting at home 0-2 and in a world of hurt. But I think you touched on this. There are huge concerns, and it's stuff that I think we've all talked about it, but I know I've been very, very poignant about is their ability to stop the run, and anybody that's physical, they just get manhandled. And the Lions, they have new offensive linemen. They're probably a better offensive lineman than they had, offensive line in general than they had last year, but they should not be just blowing us off the ball. I'm sorry.
I agree with that.
No way, shape, or form should that be happening. And that happened in the first quarter and good chunk of the second quarter too. So that's inexcusable. And what do? Like in the second half, they committed more men to the box. They brought a safety up. They brought Nickelback into the
band.
Yeah, Nickelback.
Couldn't make it as a wise man. Good Lord. Sorry, I derailed it already.
I was trying to think of a Nickelback song and just go.
They're all the same. They all suck.
I have huge concerns with the defense. I truly do. Next week is going to be a huge test. I mean, we're going to go to New Orleans. It's going to be great because from what we know so far, there's not going to be any fans, but that team is head and heels above us as far as talent
Head
goes.
and shoulders, you mean?
Whatever it is. I mean, they're
all body parts above.
Yeah, all really. Body parts above us. There you go.
All body. I like that.
And the strength of that team is on the defensive line and offensive line. And guess what? That's where we're really
in
weak.
The trenches.
We're the trenches. I mean, offensive line, we're pretty stout. I mean, we've only given up 1 sack so far.
Yeah.
Statistically, we're doing pretty well. I mean, I think Rodgers has been hit a handful of times in 2 games.
They've been banged up on the offensive line already. I mean, they lost Lane Taylor in the first game, like midway through the first game.
Yeah.
And I mean, what was it? Billy Turner. Has he played yet? I don't even know if he's played
yet.
No,
he was active yesterday, but he did not play a snap.
So, their offensive line has looked good. And it's been, it's actually been injured. To your point about, the trenches and just getting pushed around off the ball in the Packers defense. I mean, look, it's obvious that they missed Kenny Clark. He didn't play. I would venture to say that the defensive line is so poor that even when Kenny Clark is in there, they struggle. I mean, that's how low, I think if you gave Kenny Clark half of what he needed at defensive ends surrounding him, he would be an all-pro.
Yeah.
And it's just, they lack so much talent around him on the line, and he gets double and or triple teamed so much that it makes him look at times pedestrian.
Right.
Because, I think I made a comment to you guys that at one point when I looked at the defensive line lined up, the whole line looked like outside linebackers. There weren't any big bodies. I was like, no wonder they get pushed around. It's like you need some. Yeah, it was weird.
Let's be real. Like, if people don't see it this way, then I have to question your talent evaluation. But the one position on this team that's probably the weakest and probably the biggest eyesore and will keep them from going as far as they want in the playoffs, that's a defensive line. No questions asked.
And nothing's coming to the rescue.
No, I mean they're going out and they're signing a few guys to the practice squad, but they're releasing them the next day.
And I mean, who are you going to pick up off the street? Snacks Harrison was the guy I talked about that. apparently there was interest, but it never really went down. I can't imagine they're gonna, the only thing I could think is another injury, and maybe they will have to give up some of their leverage and sign for more money than what you want. But man,
come on.
With Kenny Clark, it's not pretty. Without him, it's downright scary.
If you want to look at a team that's bipolar opposite of the Packers as far as talent evaluation and building a roster, the Saints will do anything to make sure that they have players that are better than the opposing team out there. I mean, they went out and signed Emmanuel Sanders this offseason. They needed a second wide receiver. They've somehow worked their cap around to make sure that they could fit him in this year. They restructured Drew Brees to make more money up. I mean, they do everything possible to put the best product out there. And that's where I have to question what Good is doing, because I don't feel like they truly do. They're 2-0, great. Yeah. But is the best product playing on Sunday? No, I don't think so. Like defensive line, like I said, we talk about the defensive line and we talk about this in the trenches. If you're good in the trenches, you could be a solid football team. There's no other way around it. Like if you have great receivers or a great running back and you don't have a good offensive line, you're going to struggle. And vice versa. If you don't have a good pass rush, a good defensive line that can hold up against the run of the pass, your back end of the defense is going to really tail off. And the Vikings are a classic example of that right now. So I don't know what they think of defensive linemen, if they just think that they're,
I think they're also counting on other guys. I mean, look, it's obvious they put a lot of faith in Montravius Adams.
Again.
I know, and it's like, I didn't think he was going to make the team this year, to be honest. I mean, the fact that he got hurt early didn't help, but it's like now they're so desperate, they got to have him out there. But he's a second-round pick, isn't he?
Third.
Oh, it's third? Okay. But I mean,
still
he's
high pick.
And he's giving you basically next to nothing. And boy, could they use him now. So I think he's still kind of banged up. But yeah, I mean, in a way, it's like it's a good problem to have in some respects, because it's like they're 2-0. Their offense looks good. Their special teams looks really good. I mean, the defense isn't horrible. I think it's the run defense that really, really kills them. So it's really hard to have a 100% complete team. But yeah, I hear you, where it's like the needs weren't like, we don't really know how this is going to work out. It was glaring.
It should have been.
Yeah, maybe they were thinking Montravius Adams could take a step or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, let's pop into some of the notes here. So I'm generally going to try and break things down just into different sides of the ball. So offense, like kind of moving forward, I think this is how I'm going to do it, and we can do it. Offense, defense, and special teams. And then after that, we can just go into the fun half, like they do in the Majority Report. Just kidding. That's where I
Sounds good.
have the jokes, right? No, so on offense, I made it out here. Offense started out well, and they had a fourth and long on the first drive. And that was when Rodgers threaded it to Allan Lazard. It wasn't a gimme by anything. So I mean, you get the feeling that LaFleur also knows that he's like, our defense might not be in for this again. So it's like, I think some of his aggressiveness is because of the defense, but some of his aggressiveness could be freaking Aaron Rodgers is hot right now. I mean,
and it's not that aggressive. The numbers bear it out. You go for it on fourth down.
I mean, well, I will say this, Belichick and these other guys that are constantly going for it on fourth down, that's one thing. But I would like to know, going for it on fourth down around midfield on the first possession, that's I'm with you in that. It's like
low risk, low reward.
And when you look at, it's like you got Aaron Rodgers. It's not like you have Kirk Cousins back there. You got
that's just it. Like, what are you worried about?
Yeah. No, I hear you. So that was good. That's good to see. And I mean, obviously, he's a genius because it works out. But so yeah, spreading the ball around a lot of guys are getting involved. You got pre-snap motion. You got all this different stuff. I mean, look, this is the anti-Mike McCarthy offense. Look at, I don't have this specifically here, but Aaron Jones. What else can you say about this guy? I mean, he is.
Sign him.
I every day that passes, you're going to have to pay him more, And I mean, look, he's a running back, quasi wide receiver. Did you see that catch he had up the sideline?
Wide receivers don't make that catch.
Yeah, he beat a cornerback on that
Yeah.
route. That wasn't like a frickin'
Yeah.
safety or a linebacker. That was a cornerback, and he high pointed that ball like a wide receiver. He is,
Yep.
and it's like it's such a shame that McCarthy buried him. I mean, he had what 20? I think he had like 23 or 24 touches total yesterday, and he had like 236 total yards.
The most he's had in his career.
He had almost half the offense by himself. I mean, so yeah, it's like again the superlatives are. What else?
He's got all the body parts.
Yes, this is true. But yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to. It's interesting when you talk about like contract situations. I mean, you got Bakhtiari, you've got Aaron Jones, you've got even potentially not a whole lot of people are talking about it, but look, they got to do something about Devontae. He's underpaid. They're going to probably have to renegotiate or do something to get him some more money. So they got a lot of stuff looming. And I mean,
Corey Lindsey too.
Yeah, I mean, who do you prior? I mean, my gut says Bakhtiari, Aaron Jones.
But those are next year's problems.
Yeah, let's live in the now, baby, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's kick the can down the road. That's what I say.
Well, I mean,
I hear you. I hear you. I mean, I'm confident the Packers will do the right. I mean, if there's one thing this team, and I would say the Gutekunst / Thompson regime in general, is they take care of their own. You know?
I mean, I really hope they keep Aaron Jones.
I do too.
And Adams, like,
because look, they got AJ Dillon. I mean, I think he could be good. Who the heck knows? He's only had a handful of carries. He's a battering ram. I mean, I made the comment that 1, 2, 3. They might have the best. They probably have the best running back trio in the NFL. I mean, Jamal Williams. I said the other day, it's like that guy is just consistent as hell. And Jeremy made the comment too. It's like he's a great pass blocker. He picked up a big blitz that led to a big gain. I mean, he was running great, and he's due for a contract. Now, obviously, you're going to pay Jones over him, but all these guys are kind of lining up,
Well, if you look at the market, I mean, Dalvin Cook just signed a 5-year, $63 million contract, and Alvin Kamara signed a 5-year, $75 million contract. So that's kind of what the market is shaping up for Aaron Jones.
It's every day that goes by, his price goes up.
Every single day, because right now, before the season started, you're probably looking at maybe 10 to 12 million. Right now, you're probably in that mid 14, 15 million a year deal. So
I salary cap's going to go down though, isn't it?
Next year, supposedly. Yeah.
Rumored because of the lack of revenue that's coming in. Yeah. So there's rumors it's going to go down 20 million.
Packers are going to have to dig into that petty cash.
And it's not petty anymore. It's
a salary cap, so you can't do that. Luxury. That's the NBA.
So what are you saying? They have to dig into that to sidestep the salary cap, like for bonuses or something?
No. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. This is hush money. Hush money. This isn't on the books.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
this is all money that has been funded by us, Andy.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a piece of paper that's worth $250.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even have that.
Nice. Okay, popping back in here. So I had a note about MVS. He had a pretty good start. I had a note. He got crunched by a safety on an incompletion up the sideline. I think it was late in the second quarter. I thought he was going to be out of the game. I thought he had a concussion, but I guess it's just one of those things where it like knocked the wind out of him, or just it was like a stinger or whatever as they call it. And then actually Rodgers came back to him later, I think in the third quarter, and it was on the sideline, and some guy came over and crunched him, and he got a flag. It ended up being, I think it was, he caught it out of bounds, but it was still a penalty because the guy like led with his helmet and smashed.
Well, and technically the play was called a catch. Like, I mean, video confirmed that he was out of bounds, but it was ruled a catch. If they would have challenged it, I think the penalty would have been overridden because the fact that he was out of bounds. But
yep, it's kind of semantics. But did he drop another one? I can't remember. There were 7 drops yesterday. I bet you the Packers are already top 5 in the league in drop passes. I mean, which is crazy because they have 85 points. But just looking back through some of my other notes and just through the first couple games here, I think there's 3 touchdowns left on the table through drops. It's crazy. So, I mean, look what their offense is doing even with all this stuff. And speaking of drops, my boy, Jay Sternberger, he's had a horrific start to the season, man. I mean, he had COVID when he came into camp, and then he kind of was on the reserve list, and then I wasn't hearing anything about a training camp, and he's dropped like almost everything Rodgers has thrown to him. So they need him because tight end is like, I mean, I wouldn't say tight end's a liability, but it's just a mess when you think about it. It's like there's no clear-cut number one. Tanyan's a guy. I mean, Mercedes Lewis but he's old. Mercedes, he's got to be 35, 36 years old. He's possession at best. And so Sternberger's athletic, and he was coming on last season. I'm really hoping he can get out of his own way, but I'm sure he's on Rodgers' shit list right now. I mean, he was, so disappointing, but no, that's.
Are we going to talk about Rodgers at all?
What would you like to talk about, sir?
He's phenomenal so far.
Yeah, okay. That sounded a little more not positive.
I wasn't gonna set you up.
I think you're talking about the Bergstrom commercials where they had him put on. Like, did you see this? Where they had him put on like the button-up shirt? Oh man, it's a silly look.
Yeah.
Whatever. He looks great.
He looks phenomenal. His touch is on point.
I think he has 6 touchdowns, and he should have 9. Like I said, he's had 3 drops by his receivers. So, no, he looks. Look, it's good in that last year was like, I think with LaFleur was the first year in this new offense. Rodgers had the McCarthy offense forever, so it was like this mishmash trying to figure out what the heck's going on. They couldn't get to everything they wanted to, and I think this year they're like, we're going to do what we want to do, and it helps that they're not playing, juggernauts yet. They played the Lions and the Vikings, but still, last year, what I'm getting at is these games last year, they wouldn't have been what they are right now. I mean, I remember I think it was the first drive of the season against the Vikings, all the misdirection and motion and screen on the very first drive. I was like, oh my God, it was more than you saw in the last like 8 years with McCarthy. So yeah, it's really good to see. I mean, Rodgers he looks like an MVP right now. He could still chuck the ball. His fundamentals look a hell of a lot more sound too. He's definitely more on time, more in rhythm, and he's not throwing off his back foot and doing all this nonsense, and he's not holding the ball overly long. So what can you say?
Yeah, I mean, statistically so far, his passer rating is almost the best it's been since 2011. His yards per game are almost the best since 2011. Like he's had a revival. He's had a revival.
Points, in 2 games. You would think so. I think over 1,000 yards. I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to the rest of the NFL, but apparently, did Russell Wilson have 5 touchdowns last night?
Yes, he did, and he was on point.
Russell Wilson he's criminally underrated. I mean, people know he's good, but
he has never won an MVP.
That's crazy.
Think about that.
I mean, I'll never. I don't want this to be the absolute Russell Wilson podcast.
Oh God!
But I do want to say that I'll never forget when he was at Wisconsin that one year. Remember when he transferred in was it Brett Bielema that was there? I think.
Yes.
And you heard about him coming from like South Carolina or some
NC State.
NC State, that's right. And he wanted to play baseball or something. It's like the first pass he threw that season, I go, he's the best quarterback Wisconsin's ever had. I knew it immediately. I was like, oh my God. It was, you could tell. And he was picked in the 3rd round, I think. That's right. Who went in front? Was it Kirk? Was that the year Kirk Cousins was drafted? Who was drafted really high? Was it? Whatever.
Don't worry about it.
Exactly. That's code for move on, Andy. But yeah, I mean, so right. I mean, Rodgers got to be in that MVP conversation already. Like anything, they got to play a real. Are the Saints? What is their record?
Well, they're 1-0. They're playing tonight at Las Vegas.
They didn't play. That's right. They play tonight.
Okay. Used to be the Oakland Raiders, but now it's the Las Vegas Raiders. So
we'll
see.
On a short week too.
Yeah, right. And they might not have Michael Thomas, which would be a big boon for us.
Yeah,
the Packers. Did you hear about that story? Mm-hmm. So he has an ankle injury, and as
McCarthy would say, he's got an ankle.
He's got an ankle. So he has an ankle that's causing a significant issue, and he's coming up to Robert Anderson here, who's our team doctor, to get the approval to see whether he can play against us. So Robert
We need
Anderson
to get
might,
that doctor on this podcast.
yeah,
Like, doctor, what can we do
Wow.
to sway
That's-
your medical opinion to DNP?
That's
Yes.
super weird.
yeah. But that, I mean, just that's a unique tie to
Yeah.
this whole Saint Packer upcoming game is
Mm.
the fact that Michael Thomas will be cleared by a Packer doctor. So
Mm.
Will he though?
we don't know.
Or not.
We don't know.
Actually, the plot thickens. No, that is interesting.
Underneath the table, just give him a nice chunk of envelope.
Yeah, sweaty wad
Wow.
of cash. That'd be something. We were outed as like some chicanery with our Packer podcast. That'd be funny.
That APP podcast said that the doctor gave him money, or he was giving money to the doctor.
They're gonna show up with handcuffs, and then like my neighbor's gonna be like, "What the hell's going on?" And be like, "Don't watch the podcast.
Yeah.
You don't want to know." Nice. Okay, so now I'll move over to defense. Is there anything else on offense that what can you say? You know,
Offense. I mean, offense. They're
humming. They're
They're humming right now.
Yep.
We'll talk about this later, but the Saints are going to give them a lot of issues. I don't think it's going to be as easy as the Lions and the Vikings have given it to them. So we'll see.
No, this is the first real test without question coming up because, like I said, the Lions were I don't know how bad they're second, but they were injured as hell coming in. That's for sure. And they are the Lions. The Vikings. I mean, the Vikings are in rebuild mode. They might be in for like a 3-13 season this year. It's brutal.
I don't know. How good are the Raiders? I mean, so far New Orleans played Grandpa Bay,
Grandpa Beds.
and they
You like that T-shirt, the Tampa Bay?
Did you see Favre had that shirt on?
Oh,
When he showed up to Tampa yesterday, he had the old Buccaneers emblem with his with Tom Brady's face.
That's the shirt I
imprinted.
put in the Slack
my
channel.
God.
Actually.
Yeah, that was
It's like the
phenomenal.
Tampa Parade.
That was phenomenal.
I'm in town to play the Dolphins, you dumbass. Remember when he was in there something about Mary? God, Mary, I miss you.
Oh my God.
I love it. Okay, defense. So the first bullet is, hate to say it, but the defense collectively is a big problem this year. Already, only 2 weeks into the season. Again, did they tighten up after the first couple drives? I guess, but it was like their first real stop was on a 3rd and 25. That was
Yeah.
one thing that I remembered. I was like,
Good point. Yeah.
within this, and that's when the Packers offense started taking more time of possession and scoring. So it's like, I think it's patently obvious. If we don't get a lead, the defense is in trouble. If the offense is going to be struggling at all, relying on the defense for anything, I think is just wishful thinking, but who the hell knows? But I said they simply don't have the collective horses on defense to get things done. So Pettin must do some scheming, which he simply has not done. He plays so much zone, and it's all this soft zone where they have like 5-yard cushions on it. It reminds me of Capers in a way. And then I just said flat out, it's as if he doesn't trust his own players. I mean, maybe he doesn't. I've been really hard on him in the chat and all that, and it's like, is there something to that? If you don't trust your own players and you're almost like passive aggressively trying to quote put these not comments, but like these scheme where it's like, look, I'm going to have to play this kind of soft zone defense because I don't trust you and you to be anywhere near you need to be.
Yep.
That's a theory. I have no idea, but here's the deal. Like, you talk about having two of the best corners in the league, and Pettin has talked about that. He says
King
he
one of
has
the best corners. You think?
Have they even thrown to Kane in the first two games this year? They have not. Nobody's thrown at him. So I haven't seen many throws his way. Maybe a handful. They've been throwing towards Chandon Sullivan and Jair Alexander the most. So I don't know if that's just a matchup thing or whatever.
Alexander. Alexander's better than King.
Right. Okay, but I guess the point of my march here is, like, if you have the two best corners, just let them go to town like Charles Woodson and Al Harris did.
Yeah, let them play man.
Do whatever you do.
Let them play some man defense for Pete's sake.
Just let them win. Like, if you're concerned about how you're doing up front, then put the trust on those two guys and say, hey, they're going to take care of their end, and just worry about the front. Like, truly, if you feel like they are really good players, prove it. Let's put him on an island.
No, I agree with you. And I mean, I think it's 20 yards is defined as an explosive play, right? 20 or more, I think is the technical term. And I got to think the Packers are already, they've given up a ton of those. I think they led the league in explosive plays allowed last season. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's like that this way. I mean, I made a note here early that they allowed a 29-yard pass play on the third play of the game to DJ Hawkinson. Then they had 2 missed tackles by their safeties. You know, he didn't get like 10 yards, but I want to say he got an extra 5 because of that. And it's like, you can't have that crap, you know? And here's the note. First big stop of the game, I made a note, was 3rd and 25. Better than 4th and 26, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's always in the back of my mind when you're anywhere near, like, and it's like, whether it's 3rd or 4th down and it's like a mile, you're like, I've seen this movie before. I know how it ends.
Well, we knew how it ended with the defensive coordinator, who was Ed Donatel at the time, and they canned him after the year.
I was at that game, may I remind you?
You were?
Yes, in Philadelphia with great seats. My dad, he was on the phone, flip phone. This is flip phone timeline now. And he was going to make reservations for the NFC Championship game on the phone when that play took place in front of him. And he literally dropped his phone when they gave up that play. He's like, you gotta be kidding me. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, and then that was the end of it. But yeah, I'll never. Oh boy.
Oh, you just.
We had great seats for a horrible debacle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I'm stating the obvious here. The loss of Kenny Clark, it loomed large, and it's going to loom large. Is he going to be out again? Hopefully, it was only one game. I don't think it was a serious groin injury, but these groin injuries, which I don't know how far the groin area. He has a groin. What does that mean?
I was gonna say you don't know anything about the groin area. I mean, like.
Oh, I know a lot about it.
Okay.
What are you implying? No, but I, with those types of injuries, I got to think that they're going to be careful. Mm-hmm. The Packers for sure they're notoriously conservative with injuries. So if he's out again, they really need him in the Saints game without question. But who the heck knows? Now, on another level, Rashawn Gary flashed a lot in this game, especially in the 3rd and 4th quarter. Now, they were doing more pass rushing, pinning their ears back because the Lions had to throw it. But I will say this. Gary last year, you're like, I don't know about this, 12th overall pick, blah, blah, blah. He's improved. I mean, is he running away with Defensive Player of the Year? No. But has he shown good improvement? Yes. And if they can get him going in addition to the Smiths, now again, it's more about rushing the passer. I can't imagine him being some big run stuffer, but even so, it's good to see because I was very tentative going into the season, expecting much from him, to be perfectly honest. And speaking of slow starts, if you will, I mean, Preston Smith, he's got nothing. I don't even know if he has any stats.
I think he has a tackle.
Yeah, and he had the only time I heard his name called was on a penalty. It was I think he jumped the snap or something. So what I'm kind of getting at there is, if he doesn't get going, Gary's going to take his snaps. And do they have if Gary keeps improving, do they have the gumption to do that?
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see Preston Smith fail, but if he's not getting it done, I don't want to see them continue to ease Gary in, is what I'm saying. 12th overall pick, man, get him out there, especially on the side of the ball of a team that desperately needs playmakers.
Why not? Do it.
That's why you drafted him,
right?
Yep. I like to think so.
Just like we did with our quarterback.
You mean which one, Jordan Love?
Which one?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Next, go to the next topic, Andy, please.
We were. I think it was the last podcast, or just in general, just saying that their top 3 draft picks are all 3rd stringers.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, but that reminds me, Degara didn't even play, did he? He was an active.
He was hurt. Yeah, he was hurt.
What did he hurt?
Knee, I think.
He has a knee.
Or hamstring or knee, one of the two. Yes,
Yeah.
McCarthy.
I mean, he looked good in his. Granted he was injured, so he didn't play in the second game, but I was honestly surprised how much they used him in the first game. Because I guess it's just not something you typically see in Green Bay is
rookies playing.
He's playing. And I mean, he's a third round pick. It's one thing if you're a first round pick, but it's like, especially a tight end, that's one of those really tough positions. I got to think to jump from the NFL or from college to the NFL, it's got to be big. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, if they can get, is he a tight end?
He's an H-back.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm like, can he take, like, if Sternberger continues to shit the bed, can they give snaps to Degura at tight end? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think he's more blocker than a pass catching tight end, but who the heck knows?
He can do both.
Now, I will say I don't have a note on this, but I do remember Tanyan had that touchdown. And when they did the replay on that, that was a great, because he's not the most athletic guy, but he bolted in the end zone and he stopped on a dime on that, in that exact spot. And then Rodgers threw him a bullet.
Jimmy Graham would have been in on
that. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those plays that three other tight ends that we've had in the past since Jermichael Finley that would have it would have been really sloppy, but it was a very tight, you could tell it was a very tight timing and route. So that was really good to see.
Yep.
All right. I don't have much else on the defense. Actually, one other thing. Sorry. So in the chat, I told you guys, and I saw this on the TV. The TV. I saw it on the picture box.
I swear McCarthy has never left Green Bay.
The moving picture box. No, at halftime, apparently LaFleur was getting in the defense's face, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, good, I guess, but I'm like, LaFleur should just shit can Pettine and just take over as the DC. He's like, I'm the head coach and I'll be the DC because you're over there twiddling your thumbs, staring at the wall. I mean, when you hear stuff like that, that's like Pop Warner stuff to me. Oh, Matt LaFleur was getting his defense all fired up. I'm like, well, what's the defensive coordinator doing?
Yeah, but it's his name on the wall, and yeah, maybe it'll come to that. Maybe he'll get rid of it. But, he doesn't want to get rid of somebody mid-season. That's, does he want that kind of controversy? So
this isn't about what he wants. This is about what I want.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. They do have a defensive coordinator on their staff besides Pettine.
Who is it?
Jerry Gray, the new DB coordinator.
Oh, I like him. He's a fiery guy, from what I understand. Is he a fiery guy or is he a silly guy? Anyway, I don't even know anything about this guy. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy.
That guy. He's fiery. Wait. Nope.
Oh, I like that guy. That's right. He's great. Somebody told me he was great, so I believed him. But man, it's look, Pettine has done nothing to impress me. Next to nothing. I don't know. If we win, it seems to be in spite of him. If they improve, it almost seems to be in spite of him. But who the heck knows? So special teams. Again, not much to report here, which in Packer vernacular is a good thing. Because at this time last year, the Packers special teams had negative punt return yardage. And in fact, they had negative punt return yardage for more than half the season, I think. They were literally on track to have the worst return unit in the league until they got Tyler Ervin. And man, having him is nice, but what can you say? I mean, J.K. Scott, I think he's only punted 3 or 4 times this entire year, and they've all been really good. I think they've all been inside the 10.
Yeah.
And Mason Crosby, I don't think he's missed a field goal. Kickoffs have been good.
Overpaid.
Yeah. Coverage has coverage on both sides. Coverage units has been pretty good.
Well, if you're gonna cut something in the salary cap space, where are you gonna cut?
He's the highest paid kicker in the league, isn't he?
No, he's number 4. But
who's the highest?
I don't know. I pulled it up before because I knew you'd ask. Justin Tucker on the Ravens.
Remember Ray Finkel? Laces out.
So it's Tucker, Robbie Gould, and then Fairbairn, Texans, and then Mason Crosby.
Interesting.
But they're all right there, 4 to 5 million. And then,
the going rate.
Yeah.
Per year, so that goes against your cap. And if the cap is going down, you're going to cut somewhere.
You got to wonder. I mean, this is just totally out of left field, but J.K. Scott, you look at that guy, and it's like he could probably kick field goals.
I don't
He's
know.
got a booming ass leg, and then he's like 6'4". He looks. I don't know. They have pictures of him like right after he hits a punt, and his leg is like practically bending behind his body.
Right.
He's so limber. He looks like he's 12. Have you seen him?
I just always ask that question because it's not like, do I like him? He's a likable guy. He's a lovable guy, you know. But
high school, do you like me? Yes, no.
It's like price performance, and does he make his field goals? Is it a good value per dollar? Probably, but I don't know if we're kicking butt on our offense. Then
yeah,
sooner or later you're going to need that field goal kicker, though. I mean, you're going to need.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, look,
But are these?
Look at the Kansas City game yesterday. I mean, the guy kicked a 58-yard field goal. He kicked a 53-yarder.
His name?
They got a penalty. Harrison Butker. 53-yarder that he made, but they were offsides. And then they called a timeout. He kicked a 58-yarder through the uprights, and then the third one, which finally went through the uprights. So, is it important to have a really good kicker that can actually do that? Heck yeah, it's invaluable because those 3 points were the difference between winning and losing that game.
Speaking of,
but Mason Crosby is 11 years older than him and paid more than him. So I don't know how long.
I'm gonna start calling Elliot the Bobs, like from The Office. Remember when they go in there and they're like clearing house? They're like, "What would you say you do here?" I kick field goals all the time.
I don't know.
I don't know about this.
So it looks to me like 38 is the end of the line for kickers.
Yeah, I was gonna say they can kick into their late 30s sometime. I mean, Vinatieri, is he still in the league?
No, he retired.
He was like kicking until he was like 45.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe he plays out to the end of his contract, and that's a couple years. But I don't know. You gotta come up with space somewhere. If the cap is smaller next year, we have a highly paid quarterback. I don't know what you do. I mean, the money has to come from somewhere. So like everybody's critical.
We just drafted a quarterback. Let's dump the one we got.
Well,
yeah.
And that'd be about that would be a huge cap hit. We can't.
So we know there's mistakes made or questionable decisions, right? So then what? Okay, so we have the situation.
Wait a minute. Stop right there. I like that right there. That's good branding. We're not going to call these things mistakes anymore. We're going to brand them as questionable decisions. Anytime somebody makes a mistake, this is like a politics kind of thing. I did not make a mistake. It was a questionable decision. I'm writing that down, baby.
So, you do have to come at it from the standpoint of what is the actual thought process.
I want a shirt, absolute Packer shirt. It says APP, and then it says I did not make a mistake. It was a questionable decision.
You're the shirt designer, man. Like go.
Oh man, that's outstanding.
Yeah,
I like it.
I don't know. I just always think like because we talk about like we got to do something on defense. We got to get better defense, and like we got and it's not just the three of us.
I follow you.
It's everybody. It's other people. It's when we talk about the Saints. It's like somehow they're able to figure it out, and I'm like, well, they compromise, and sometimes like so. To
Jeremy's point on like the Saints, that's a good model because they're kind of like. I don't know if they're the anti-Packers, but in many ways they are because they go out and New England's kind of this way in that they go out there and they get a ton of veterans to fill out the bottom of the roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like 1 year prove it deals and all this kind of stuff. And, and then they have a quarterback who's willing to restructure his, has Aaron Rodgers ever restructured his contract?
Why would he know?
I think he has where they've taken salary and prorated to a signing bonus, which is what the Saints are doing. They're converting salary into a signing bonus and spreading it out over the remainder of the contract. So what they do, let's say for example, they give Drew Brees a $25 million signing bonus,
and that's the guaranteed money.
They guaranteed money on the spot, and you spread that out over the contract terms, which is for 3 years. That's 8 and some change, you know. So instead of having to worry about that right now, you worry about it next year and the year after that, because that's spreading it out, which that's what the Saints have been notoriously doing. But it's
Yeah,
been smart, and it's worked for them.
It has worked. I mean, they haven't gotten back to the Super Bowl, but they've always been competitive for sure.
They've always been there, and that's all you can ask, you know.
I mean, the Packers, even under Goody, they build from within. You know, they have a lot of money tied up in their quarterback. So it is kind of a contrast in methods. But sorry, circling back around to kickers and stuff. Did you guys? I was watching the Dallas game, McCarthy's second game. Did you see that onside kick at the end? You didn't see it? Oh my word! I saw it.
I saw it.
So they have
what was
new
the
rules.
Falcon thinking?
They sat there. They could have just, from what I understand, they literally sat there and just watched it because they're like, oh, we have to let it go 10 yards, can't touch it. It's like,
but that's never been the deal.
Well, no,
right?
they did change. They changed the rules somewhat, but from what I understand, maybe I'll have to check on this. Even if you jump on it early, it's just like it's a pen. You get it, but it's like a penalty. I think. I'm pretty sure. But I mean, even if that's not true, they literally, like, even when it was crossing the 10 yards, nobody was even ready to pounce on it. It was like, you know what it was like? It was like watching the Bostic play, only it didn't go against McCarthy coach team.
Yeah.
It was because the Falcons, they gave up like 13 points in like 2 minutes.
I know.
They pissed that game away. But watching that onside kick, it was like, and when they had the overhead cam, when you watch it live, it's always like a scrum when they jump on it, and you're like, who's going to get it? When you watch it overhead and you see the ball go in there and the Falcons players just going like, it was like, oh my word. It
is a split second, and you know they're told, like, if you don't got it, don't jump on it. I'm sure, you know. So but that's what the money's for, you know. So they shouldn't screw that up.
Well, I think what made it really confusing is usually your first line of guys on the receiving team are meant to take out the blockers, and then usually you have a receiver or a good hands guy on the back end to receive the ball. And I think there was a lot of confusion there. You know, like I'm not the hands guy.
Mistakes were made. They were all questionable decisions.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling no team in the NFL is going to have that problem again.
Yeah, that's gonna be a teachable moment.
I was going to say the exact same words.
Every coach is gonna put that on and be like, see what happened here? Don't do that or your ass is out of here. Oh my word.
That's a Bostic moment.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it didn't bounce through somebody's hands, but it was like, God. I mean, what you forget about stuff like that is, like, they have to watch this stuff in the film sessions, these teams. God. I mean, it's like, can you imagine going like, oh shit, here comes the onside kick. And you know it's going to be like 2 hours of the coach just chewing you out.
But that's got to be painful, though, because the Falcons are better.
Yeah, I don't think Dallas is.
No.
I mean, McCarthy.
They're just not.
I want him to do well. Don't get me wrong.
Did you read that article that I put in Slack? Like the how they can use this as a rallying call, like
Dallas.
Like McCarthy could say, remember that Falcons game now. You know, like you guys came from behind. It's like, you know, that's just not. They're not good enough for that. But they can, that can fuel you a little bit, and you can play above your pay grade a little bit. You know, you can punch above your weight.
Well, I just hope that McCarthy has like a graphing calculator instead of an abacus. Man alive.
I don't know. I think they're in, like, their division isn't like, so the Eagles are terrible this year, right?
Well, the NFC North outside of the Packers looks pretty. I mean, are the Bears? The Bears are 2-0, right?
2-0.
Yeah,
but they're
not very good. So we're the best in a bad division, and like
the NFC West is going to be, well, the Seahawks, look out, right? But the Niners, they have tons of injuries. I think they might have lost Bosa and somebody else for the year yesterday, and Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. Yeah, I mean they're Kittle. What happened to him? It was the first game. Yeah, I mean they are banged up, and they are banged up at like
everywhere, huh?
Well, the defensive line, they don't have
players that are like really good players. You know, it's not just chumps that are hurt. It's like they have really good players that are hurt.
Well, you got Nick Bosa, who I would assume has an ACL.
Yeah.
Solomon Thomas went down yesterday. He's a number 3 pick years ago, and then
Garoppolo went down, I think.
D4 didn't play either. So you have 3 really highly, really good players, high draft picks, and highly paid that were sitting or hurt yesterday.
That's painful when you are highly paying somebody and they're not performing.
Yeah, that's the thing that's got to be really tough about the NFL, because they go, "Oh, injuries aren't an excuse." Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, so now I have some other quick little. Here's where the fun half humor comes in, I guess. So, I can't believe I wrote this down, but hey, I did. So I wouldn't forget it at a very important time like this. I didn't want to make a questionable decision.
Here it comes anyway.
So I said, Matt Patricia looks like a human nesting doll on the sidelines. Man alive. Yeah. The Belichick coaching tree fascination is interesting because apparently GMs and owners think that when you hire a Belichick disciple, that Belichick is coming with them.
No.
And not only at coach, they signed a general manager that came from the Patriots too, Bob Quinn. So
oh my God,
they made a two-headed monster there.
Patricia's a clown, a nesting doll clown. Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. It was kind of silly. But the king of nesting doll looking coaches is Andy Reid. Buddy boy. Who else McCarthy is looking nesting doll like. I made a note of that too.
Yeah, well, I did too. I immediately went out for a 2-mile walk as soon as you said that.
Nice.
I did. While the game was on.
That would be a hell of a piece of APP merch. A nesting doll that has like Elliot on the outside and then Jeremy and then we can have people buy these things.
That would be good. I like that.
You do that and like somebody's wife would be like, "What the hell is that?" You'd be like, "This is the Absolute Packer podcast team in nesting doll form."
I want you to make that now.
And she'd be like, "I want a divorce."
That would be amazing.
That'd be awesome.
I mean, I could make a little vector graphic.
I want you to do that.
All right, I'll bill the LLC.
No, nice.
No, and then the other funny thing was I'm gonna do my best not to curse, because I know that helps with the algorithm.
I don't know that it helps with anything.
So I sent that quick message right before that kicker missed the kick at halftime, and that is the Slack message of simply "miss it, you a-hole." And I literally hit enter send while the ball was like being kicked off his foot, and it went right. And I think we established a new tradition of if you want somebody on the opposing team to screw up, you say either, for a kicker, for instance, miss it, a-hole, miss that tackle, a-hole, drop that pass, a-hole, things of that nature, because I'm batting 1,000.
Right. Yeah. Yes, you are.
I put here, I go, this is literally what the note says. And I did it in the third person. Andy quickly sent a Slack message, "Miss it, you a-hole," a second before the Lions kicker missed the kick to close out the first half. A new tradition was born.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's one and done.
Oh.
Ooh. Wow.
And then, I don't have examples here, but Jeremy knows I love to screenshot some of his he's got some doozies.
You need to put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the I love
activate a-hole.
Activate a-hole and I love
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
Can you imagine, can you imagine, Jeremy, you're driving around town and you just see some random dude. And it's not even me or Elliot, it's some other random dude, and you'll be like, "Oh my word." Like, that's the last time I allow any screenshotting by Andy.
Yep.
You have the series of t-shirts you brought.
LaFleur comes out with one on a presser.
Then you know you made it.
Or Aaron Rodgers has one at his locker.
You're off the rails. You guys had to get going anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I worked all day, and now I got
all right
to do. But
let's get this out before Friday this week.
Yeah, no more. I already forgot it. I thought it was going to have a lot of staying power. Questionable decisions.
Well, we bypassed one, so we're gonna stick with the tried and true for a while. So yeah, you don't
Go
have anything
Pack,
else?
go! The Saints are up next. It's not going to be a full house down there, so it's not going to be a hostile environment. I think it's the first.
You want to give a prediction?
Yes, I do.
That's a good question.
Yes, I do.
Not really.
I guess I was mentally trying to skip that because I think we all think they're gonna lose, right?
I mean, I don't look. They put up basically they averaged 42 points a game. I don't think they're going to put that up, but I'll say 30-24 Packers.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, my prediction is solely dependent on Michael Thomas playing. Okay.
Mhm.
So if he plays, he's healthy.
He's got all these caveats. That's not fair.
Yeah, I know
We
this
need
is
to roll it.
complicated.
Well, I mean, it's like if Aaron Rodgers didn't play. I mean, that's the same level that Michael Thomas is on. That team is literally built around him. So Michael Thomas plays. He's healthy. It's going to be New Orleans 37, the Packers 30.
If he doesn't play,
it is going to be Packers 27, Saints 23.
Elliot, what about you?
27-24 Saints.
And you call me a negative Nancy? I'm the only one who picked Man, the only one who picked them to win.
I think it's gonna be close. But
all kidding aside, I really do think that's like
I want to be wrong.
That's like a house of horrors down there when they have a packed stadium and it's just.
That's true. There's no stadium. But I mean,
there is a stadium, but there's no. They're not going to play it in a high school field.
Well,
but there's no fans. No, I got you. I think that's big. I really do. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to put them over the hump, but that's
so. I'm of the belief that a stadium is the people, much like a church is the people. You know, like
here's the church, here's the stadium. Open up, see all the people.
I do want to.
I got raps, baby.
I do want to bring out a couple stats that are quite important. Aaron Rodgers is 0-2 in New Orleans.
He's only played there twice.
And Drew Brees is the only quarterback in NFL history to have 7 games against an opposing team, which is the Packers, with 300 plus yards in those 7 games.
God,
we don't play well against them.
Sorry.
The Packers defense. Since Dom Capers struggles against veteran quarterbacks.
Yeah. Last win in New Orleans was 1995.
Now,
what?
Crazy. Wow. Now I will say this though. So if Thomas is out, they're going to be relying heavily on Kamara. You have to think, right?
And Jared Cook.
Darn it, Ted. Thanks.
I know they're stacked.
Mm-hmm.
That was a moron.
I know. I almost feel like that's.
How old is Jared Cook though?
31.
Yeah, he's fine.
32.
We had him when he was 27.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I was in a coma, so I forgot about a lot of that.
You're making me feel more comfortable with.
I didn't even remember that crazy play he made in the Dallas game to get to the NFC Championship game against Atlanta, where they got killed. And I don't remember the NFC Championship, but that throw to up the sideline to Jared Cook was like that is like a top 5 all time for Rodgers.
Gorgeous.
That throw, I mean, it's embarrassing that I don't remember it, but it was like I literally had to see it again for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I was like, weird.
Also, the last 2 games that we played in New Orleans, we lost in 2008, 51-29, and we lost in 2014, 44-23.
Well, the other thing the Packers typically, well, I mean, how well do the Packers play on AstroTurf?
They're actually, I mean, if I had to compare them, I think they play a little bit better on turf just because their team speed is more readily accessible.
I don't
than it
know
is on
what team
grass.
speed is. I'm a Packers fan.
Yeah.
Well, 4.5, 4.6 speed is quicker than it is on grass.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should, have you seen the Vince McMahon meme where he's like, have you seen this where he's like
No.
looking? Yes, you have. Oh my God.
Probably.
I should make a meme and replace Vince McMahon with Brian Gutekunst, and it basically just shows a football player running consecutively slower 40 times, and he gets more intrigued the slower they go.
Oh, I have seen that. I know what you mean now.
Where it's like at the end, his eyeballs are like buzzing out of his head.
Right.
It's like
right.
it's like that wide receiver ran a 4.9. He's mine.
I mean, we're gonna lose a few games. We have a bad defense. They're balanced on both sides of the ball. I don't know. I feel
wait, they lost opening weekend, right?
no.
Oh, they beat Grandpa Bay.
Right. They didn't play.
Yeah,
They didn't play.
the only reason I'm not giving them more points is because their track record.
And I hope. Well, I hope
beating Grandpa Bay.
Gruden needs to beat him tonight.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, this is the thing.
What is that play he always talks about?
We're all at that.
Spider, why banana?
Yeah, I know.
Remember when he got Favre in there? It was the big bro fest. They talk about, I'll tell you what. When I threw that pass, I had to land like a butterfly with sore feet. That was a great quote. Gruden's like, "What'd you say?" And he goes, "A butterfly with sore feet." He's like, "That's good."
All right. Are we gonna want to revise our numbers tonight at 11:00?
No, I'm sticking to mine.
Right. Okay.
All right, go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.
All right, I'm not hanging up yet.